One of the most overlooked parts of any vehicle and underserviced parts of any vehicle is commonly the transmission. And why it is a major component of your vehicle. Here to talk with us about your transmissions and what you can do and symptoms you may have that can save you thousands of dollars in costly repairs is Rob McMullen with Scotty's Transmission. And Rob, thanks for being here today.
Good morning, Mitch.
Why do you think that the transmission is the most overlooked component on a car?
It's one of those things that just keeps going and going and going, and you get in, you start the car, and it drives every day, and you just don't think about it.
Well, and there's some telltale signs that prior to catastrophic repairs that people may be able to sense. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that may indicate a transmission problem, and then some of the things that people commonly misdiagnose as transmission problems.
That's a good point, Mitch. You know, if you get in your car in the morning and fire it up and put it in gear and it takes 3 or 4 seconds to engage into gear, that's certainly an indicator that something may be going wrong. You know, a delayed upshift or downshift when you think it should be shifting, either up or down, and it's not, is another concern. Also, slipping or jerking when you take off, if you're feeling shuddering or feel it actually slip, those can all be symptoms that there may be an issue with the transmission.
I think one of the things that cracks me up a little bit is that they can actually cause check engine lights to go on.
Absolutely. The transmissions in today's vehicles are computer controlled, and the computer monitors that transmission and all of its symptoms along with the engine. And if it sees a problem with the transmission, in most cases it will flag a check engine light.
And there should be a check transmission light, I would think.
On some vehicles there are, yes.
What type of symptoms do you see people sometimes pull into a shop that's just a less than? And we don't slander anybody on this show. We just ignore that they exist. But, that they've taken it somewhere else and they've heard they need a transmission, and yet it's not a transmission. They just had symptoms that could be misdiagnosed as a transmission problem.
One of the most common issues is engine misfire. Say a vehicle's got 100,000 miles on it, and a customer hasn't considered that it may be due for a tune-up. They can be driving down the road, and if the engine starts to misfire, it feels like the transmission is shuddering or jerking, and that's a real common one that we see often.
Well, people, again, this is one of the most commonly overlooked parts of a car, and it still amazes me because engine, transmission, two of the biggest components, and people change the oil all the time, but you don't hear them always changing their transmission or flushing their transmission as frequently. But one of the things that I wanted you to get into is a little bit about the electronics in these.
As I said before, Mitch, all today's cars, the transmissions are driven electronically by a computer. Those components operate the valve train, the actual control section of the transmission, and tell the transmission to do what you're asking it to do.
So what would happen if somebody were running just low on transmission fluid? Would that affect the systems in this?
It certainly can, and that can also set a check engine light on a lot of vehicles because there are fluid level sensors and or pressure sensors that would tell the computer that, hey, either it's low on fluid or it's low on pressure, and that could set a check engine light.
And so that could also be one of those common misdiagnoses that you need a whole new transmission, you just needed to add fluid.
Correct. In most cases, Mitch, if you need to add fluid to a transmission, it's leaking somewhere. They don't consume fluid.
Okay, that's good information too. One of the other things that you had talked to me about was tire size and how some people are going out today, and we're going to talk about these later on our show, and they're lifting their vehicles, and yet there's some things they need to do regarding the transmission if they're going to do that.
The transmissions are programmed with what's called a ratio, and that has to do with tire size and gear sizes in the differentials. And that ratio, the computer uses that ratio to actually decide when and how to shift that transmission. So a tire size that has been changed from its original, either smaller or bigger, whether it's a lifted car or just bigger tires and wheels, the computer has to be reprogrammed in order for that transmission to operate properly.
Well, and one of the interesting things that you mentioned to me was that even an engine that's not running properly may affect the transmission.
It certainly can. If the motor's not putting out its maximum power, what it's designed to put out, the transmission can't do its job. It's designed to use the power that the engine provides, and if that engine isn't providing that power, it can certainly even cause damage to the transmission.
You know, one of the things that we're here to do as an enterprise is to educate the consumer so that they can make good choices and have the power and the knowledge to do that. And today, in today's economy, everyone's looking to save $1 or $2, and we don't blame them. And we want them to get the most for their money, though, to get the highest quality products and services and a fair price. And that's the coveted prize as a consumer. If you go out and you buy an inferior product and you pay less for it, you wind up having to replace or repair that, or it's not what you thought it was, it can cost you more in the long run. So what we're trying to do is balance that factor. And with the internet today, we had a conversation about this. There's a lot of problems associated with that internet shopping when it comes to transmissions. And talk to us a little bit about different qualities of transmissions, and it's not all price.
And it shouldn't be price, Mitch. It's like anything. If you want the highest quality and the best value, you're going to pay for that difference. And there certainly is a difference. It's very easy to build a cheap transmission, but typically those cheap transmissions aren't going to go as far or as long as a high-quality transmission. The parts that are put into those transmissions, the number of parts and the quality of those parts at the time of rebuild are going to dictate how long that transmission is going to last.
Well, and I'm sure you've had people that, trying to save $1, have gone out and tried to buy their own and then ask you to install them. And I know that you won't do that, but tell us, our listeners, why that's not a good idea.
The number one reason, Mitch, is that if they bring a transmission and we install that, if that transmission has a problem, that's not up to me to take care of that problem. It's up to the distributor that sold that transmission. So the consumer has to go back to that distributor and say, hey, I'm having a problem. Well, the first thing the distributor says is, oh, nope, it's the shop that put it in. It's their problem. And now we're in an arm wrestling match. And if you come to us and allow us to provide that transmission, we're not going to arm wrestle over anything. If there's a problem, we're going to be right there to take care of it.
Well, and the difference, too, is, and I want our community to understand this, is you have done the research. How many years and hundreds, if not thousands of transmissions have you installed, and then experienced the life expectancy of different manufacturers of these components to really find the ones that are worthy of you putting in that you can stand behind? And that's the homework that you do as a professional shop that allows you to stand behind your product.
Correct, Mitch. I mean, we want to do the best thing we can do for the consumer. We want to be able to provide that the most warranty that we can provide. By the way, all of our transmission replacements have a 3-year unlimited mileage, and that warranty is nationwide. So no matter where you're at, if you have a problem, we'll cover that transmission, both parts and labor.
Wow, that's fantastic. And now I want our listeners also to understand the difference between shops. Not all transmission shops, because they have a garage license, are created equal. There is a difference. Tell them some of the advantages of doing business at Scotty's Transmission.
Well, again, we're a specialty shop. We specialize in transmission repair and replacement. So versus just an everyday general repair shop, we have a lot more knowledge because we specialize in that. We've been in that industry for numerous years. We have the technical information, the tools, and the training that it takes that's required to work on today's electronic transmissions.
Proper technicians, proper equipment, proper training, and a quality business owner. And I will say that looking you straight in the eye, one of the finest business owners in Northern Nevada, and we're privileged to have you a part of our show. How often should a transmission be serviced, and how about the other parts of the drivetrain, like the transfer cases and differentials?
You know, at a minimum, Mitch, it should be at the manufacturer's recommended service intervals. Every vehicle has an owner's manual. If you've lost it or can't find it, call us. We'll give you that information. We can pull it up on our computers and share with you. But more importantly, intervals are based on normal service. In our area, as someone was speaking earlier today, there's a lot more dust, hills, heat, cold. All that changes those service intervals. And what we're finding in our industry, it is best from experience to service your transmission every 30,000 miles. service the differentials and the transfer cases every 50,000 miles. And again, that's from our experience, dropping those fluids, analyzing those fluids, and seeing when they are starting to break down.
And how would they get a hold of you to have a schedule a transmission service?
Either online at www.scottystransmission.com or come to our shop at 1510 Glendale Avenue in Sparks, or give us a call at 359-7676.
That's Rob McMullen, Scotty's Transmission in Sparks, Nevada. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.